You're seriously looking one up, eh?
No, I had it just on my phone. Here, I'm gonna show you it because it kind of loses a little bit.
We are now live.
Are we live now?
Yeah.
My girlfriend and I had a real good laugh at this one, though. I don't know if you can see that.
The puppy with a smile. Yeah. I can't see the words. Thanks, Dan.
It says I just put a stick in a non-stick pan.
It's cute. Yes.
Smile. So we have delegation this evening for our council meeting.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we have a delegation, staff years of service recognition.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, maybe we just want to call this to order just for the benefit of our Facebook friends.
Sure. Yeah, we can call the meeting to order. And do we need a motion? Is it still technically in the public session because that was our last motion?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So are you going to fill us in on the staff years of service recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have two staff to recognize this evening. One is Kathleen McIntosh, who has been employed with the town of Bruderheim for the past 10 years. In that time, Kat has been tasked to oversee taking care of most of our recreational services, as well as overseeing our summer students during the summer months. Kathleen's passion is certainly our recreation facilities. She has a strong ownership in our arena operations, and year after year, she puts 100% plus efforts, ensuring that our minor hockey teams, as well as our men's leagues, are skating on a great sheet of ice. In addition to ensuring that the arena building is kept clean and safe, she contributes to our parks, our outdoor park spaces. The summertime is always fun with Kat. If you look around town, then you can see that Kat is one of the mowers or on the soccer fields, marking them out for our local soccer groups to enjoy. Kat brings laughter to our team day after day with her funny comments, and the team enjoys seeing Kat throughout the work week. Kathleen's hard work and dedication to the job has made Bruderheim synonymous word in the rec world, and we are proud to say she is ours. Congratulations, Kathleen, and we look forward to another prosperous year with you. Deputy Mayor Schuler today to the public workshop to present her certificate and gift on behalf of council, as she had some personal family issues tonight. She couldn't attend. I just wanted to do a shout out to her though for 10 years.
Congratulations. Thank you, Kat.
Next up is the wonderful Director of Planning and Legislative Services, Sherry Cote, who has been with us 5 years. Seems like longer. She holds many hats in our office. She takes care of our planning and development, our legislative services, and everything else that I don't have time for. So her passion is communities in bloom and making our community in her spare time look wonderful. And of course, she's active on the Ag Society, which is a great partner to the town of Bruderheim. And I want to say, actually, Councillor Lee is going to present. I'm hoping that we have her iPad situated so that you can see the presentation. If I can call up Sherry.
And if we unmute Pat's iPad.
Yeah, back there. Can you see?
And we can see Sherry now and Pat.
Good evening, Sherry. Well, I'm very, very proud to be presenting you with your certificate of appreciation for 5 years of service. Town just keeps on rolling because of you. You're a big, big part of it. And we just want to let you know how much it means. And your certificate and a little gift. Thank you. You're welcome.
Congratulations. Thank you, Pat. Was there any more for the years of recognition?
That's it. Thank you much.
Thank you for bringing that to council. Much appreciated and glad to have such great staff. Moving on to number 7, we need a motion to adopt the minutes of September 16th meeting.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes of September 16th, 2020 regular meeting of council.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Okay, is anyone opposed to that motion? So seeing none opposed, the motion's carried. And number 8, council priorities information request. Let's start with Deputy Mayor Judy.
I have nothing, thanks.
Councillor George.
George,
Councillor George.
nothing
Okay.
from Councillor George.
Okay, Councillor
Nothing
Wayne.
to report.
Thanks, Councillor Wayne. Sorry, Wayne, you're muted.
Sorry. I just want to touch base again on the possible signage for the skate park. Has there been any, I know it's a busy time, but has there been any work done on that, or going to be bringing back to council?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, yes, we are looking at some options of putting fluorescent tape or signs on the crossings. We actually are waiting to hear about that MSP funding, because then we would do one of the projects, as you know, we put in for was another crosswalk by the school. And so then we would do both at the same time
Okay.
in the interim. And then we have a meeting with the traffic engineer to talk about some options for next year about changing if we wanted to do something different with the traffic flow. But a lot of municipalities are finding help with putting that fluorescent signage or tape on the crossings to slow people down, just because it's new, right? The ultimate goal would be to do that speed board, right? That is proven.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I also like to know if there's possibility of dropping down to like 30 kilometers an hour and like 100 feet on either side, saying children crossing. Because right now, the other day I watched a car just about hit a kid as they're walking through with the lights flashing. So I don't want to see that. And I know it's not everybody, I understand that. And I just want to eliminate as much as possible.
Yeah, we'll have our traffic engineer make some recommendations.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll bring that to council for discussion for sure.
Okay. And was there any feedback or any concerns or questions in regards to the first couple nights at the arena?
Feedback from my staff or from users?
From both sides, from the town aspect and from users.
Well, last night I helped out, and I would say that the users, spectators were amazing. They certainly want to make sure they adhere to the rules, and they were asking lots of questions and very cautious. Again, at the end though, people were socializing in the hallways, not moving out as quickly, but again, education, right? We're used to meeting and visiting and talking. I think it's really great that we're not playing games right now, because I've seen a lot of the parents out in the parking lot. They didn't even go into the rink, right? So hoping that our signage is efficient. We did get a concern that 2 dressing rooms were not available. One of the teams, even though a cohort can share a dressing room, does not want to share a dressing room. They want the spacing available to them to use 2 dressing rooms. So again, every user group has a different comfort level, and we're working through that. The user groups, we're struggling with them getting in their COVID coordinator and their rapid response plans. So we don't know that, for instance, BMSA is doing an online registration for the questionnaire about, do you have a fever? Do you, right? Those questions. We weren't aware of that because they haven't submitted their rapid response plan. So from our perspective, it looks like it wasn't happening. So I think the next few weeks are a little bit growing, and some of the user groups haven't got their insurance in, which is which is absolutely normal. So no red flags though. So I think once we get through Fort Saskatchewan, start till November. And once we get the arena actually full and people rolling through quickly, I think will be our test. But kind of glad that it's just BMSA right now, and we're rolling and moving through and adjusting as we need to, and working with the user groups and the staff to ensure everybody's safety.
So all in all, pretty good. It's just growing pains, I guess, right?
Yeah, logistics, and I think everybody is just overwhelmed by everything that needs to be done. So we definitely have to give some grace in making sure that we help them. And the staff's been amazing. They're all there to help. Staff are volunteering to go there at night and help. We're not paying for staff to be there at night. And we just want to keep everybody safe. I'm sure everybody's seen the numbers are rising. Schools are starting to be transmission places. If that happens in our arena, it's not a good thing for anybody, right? So I think everybody knows the value of staying safe.
And this rapid response plan, do you need one from Bruderheim and from Lamont, or one from, will one cover both?
Every team has to give us one.
Every team does?
Yes. So copy and paste works.
Okay.
Change the name on the top, U14, U12.
Okay, no, as long as it's, because I get, okay, just as long as we don't send one expecting that was enough, so.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, oh, good enough, I think. That's it for that one, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Councillor Len. Sorry, I didn't hear.
Councillor Falardo has nothing.
Okay, Councillor Pat.
Yes, I have a couple of things that I can help. First one is
I'm sorry, Councillor Pat is muted. There we go.
Okay, on the school council meeting on Monday, it was brought up the engagement, public residents engagement when we go through the budget. So I said I would let them know in terms of, are we putting a survey out on in the newsletter, or what might we be doing to try to engage them? They were interested in what we might be doing to help in the process. So whatever administration might come up with.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee, the budget sessions are open to public.
Okay.
So that's all we've done in the past.
So no specific, no survey as such asking about cuts to services, that kind of stuff in the works?
We
Nope.
are talking about, I think Councillor Scooswell suggested that we do a couple questions out on social media. Just remember I sent some questions around, and then I thought it was a great idea that we just send one or two. So me and Jill are working on that. I don't know what else.
That's something that is,
Yeah.
you know, rather than just not having their involvement, right?
Just remember the dangerous thing about asking people is if you do nothing, it creates frustration. So the questions have to be very worded. So if somebody says we need to reduce or increase a certain service level and we don't have the financial ability to do that, that creates frustration too. So the questions have to be worded
Right.
carefully.
Alrighty.
And in a
Okay.
year where I'm cutting everything that I can cut, it's difficult to engage.
Okay, it's just that was one of the issues that were discussed. And the other thing I have going on is I received a letter from a town resident who's quite concerned with the quads and dirt bikes on the walking trails southwest of 48th Avenue and the west side of West Woodlands. I guess of course, it's usually in the evenings and on weekends. And I did suggest that he contact by law enforcement and get the ball rolling on that. It seems that these are unlicensed riders without plates and being quite discourteous to the residents that are using that as a walking path or walking with their dogs. So I do have this letter, and I would I'll forward on to administration to get a reply to him. So he knows that we're definitely, that's on the radar. And that's all I have.
Councillor Pat, thank you. Councillor Dan.
No information requests for me today. Thank you.
I have no information requests. Program requests. Is anyone, just gonna throw that out there to the group, does anyone have a program request? Councillor Wayne and then Councillor Dan.
Going forward, the Northern Lights Library System, their meetings are going to be held Friday mornings. they put a vote through to have it Friday morning, so they didn't have to do them on Saturdays and bring people in for Saturdays. But obviously I work on Fridays. I'm also on part of one of the committees there. So is there a way that we can either write a letter to them asking them to put them back to Saturdays, or can somebody else step up and take these meetings on?
So, Mr. Mayor, our organizational meeting is next week. Did you want to defer till next week, or do you have one
Yeah.
this Friday, Wayne?
No, it's not for a head. I just want to give some
Okay.
heads up. So
So you might want
Sorry.
to consider another counselor taking that if they've changed the date.
okay.
Is there reasoning, are they trying to save money, Wayne, too?
Yep, it's well, they don't want to bring people on Saturdays, right? So or pay people on Saturdays, even though they're doing it online. They don't want them to come in on Saturdays and do it. So it's a cost savings thing, but yeah. So I'll bring it up again the next meeting.
Yeah, we have an organizational meeting coming soon, and we could make that a part of that discussion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's what I said. I just wanted to bring it up so had some awareness of it. So that's all.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Councillor Wayne. Councillor Dan?
So yeah, with upcoming financial challenges and everything going on, I believe as council, we should be looking at all possible avenues to be saving our residents tax money. One of the things right now I'd like to look at is, or we should be looking at, sorry, is our tax-free for 3 incentive program. It's not a terrible idea. It might not be what we need right now. If we have proper direction, we can customize incentive programs to work for our town. For example, we could be focusing on infrastructure or something along the lines rather than growing residential incentive. So yeah, with that said, instead of others footing the bill for it, I would like to put forward a motion that admin bring forward the tax-free for 3 program for review.
Okay, thank you for that motion, Councillor Dan. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Pat? You're muted.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Dan, I agree with you because it's probably the time to look at this again. We've had it in place for a number of years, and it doesn't hurt just to eyeball it again, refresh, and see if there's anything that needs tweaking, changing, and yeah, so I think that's a good motion.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? Okay, hearing none. Is anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Thank you for that, Councillor Dan. Does anyone else have any program requests? No. We can move on to request for decision 9.1 fees and charges bylaw amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Administration would like to provide council with information on amending the 2020 fees and charges. The town council gives second reading to bylaw 13/2020, to amend the fees and charges bylaw 13-2019. The town council give third reading to bylaw 13-2020, a bylaw to amend the fees and charges bylaw 13-2019. User fee rates and charges for some municipal services change throughout the budget year. Residents and stakeholders rely on the municipality to provide a wide variety of programs, services, and infrastructure. To support the services that contribute to quality of life in the region, the municipality depends on revenue from property taxes and user fee rates and charges. Although municipal services are typically available to everyone, the cost of services are recovered by different revenue that are determined by the type of service. User fees, rates, and charges are paid by the residents who directly use and benefit from municipal services that are not fully supported by tax dollars. Charging these fees to the individual users helps municipality recover some of those direct costs associated with providing the service. Council gave final reading to bylaw 13-2019 on December 18, 2019. Council passed bylaw 09-2020 on May 6, 2020 to amend bylaw 13-2019 to include updating general administrative fees, adding public works fees for service and changing the Bruderheim water to read as per service agreement. On September 16, 2020, Council gave first reading to bylaw 13-2020, a bylaw to amend the 2020 fees and charges. Strategic plan areas, ensuring that we keep our user fees and charges fair based on consumption and cost to deliver services ensures ratepayers can remain sustainable. Sustainable and safe infrastructure, annual audits of service levels and delivery fees and charges ensures that existing and future infrastructure needs are budgeted for. Our community is educated on responsibilities and limitations of council administration. Other impacts, legislative, Municipal Government Act RSA 200 M26, Section 7 bylaws. There are 2 customers affected by this amendment to the 2020 fees and charges. As you know, utilities are fully funded through the user, so we do annual audits to ensure that the cost for service is being collected. With the occupancy rates below average in the entire province, administration discovered there was an inequity what is being charged as a flat rate for the multi-use residential dwellings and what the actual consumption rate is. Administration has done an analysis of several municipalities to determine a more equitable fee structure for utilities provided by the town. Administration has already begun the process of reviewing the user fees and charges for the 2021 fees and charges bylaw that will include extensive review of existing utility fees and charges.
Thank you for that. Looking for a motion from council for the second reading.
I got it.
Dan?
I move that town council give second reading to bylaw 13-2020, a bylaw to amend the fees and charges bylaw 13-2019.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? I have a couple questions for administration. Looking into the water rates under the Bruderheim Water Co-op rate, it says as per service agreement. What would the number be for 2020, just more specifically than service agreement?
Mr. Mayor, we haven't calculated that. That's why it's just as per service agreement. There'll be a separate service agreement with the increased services they're asking for now.
Right. Yeah, so it likely will be an increase, is that right?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know at this time. We haven't got the contract. We haven't negotiated it with the water co-op.
Okay, and so then that would come back then for the fees and charges for that?
Mr. Mayor, the fees and charges will always say as per service agreement because
Okay.
the service agreement will come to council for consideration.
Okay, great. And the bulk water rate, I see that we're going to drop it again for 2020. Just given the circumstances that our town is in, I think that's one that maybe we should have a discussion about whether we're dropping that or not, because ultimately it's mostly non-residents of Bruderheim who benefit from the lowered cost. And I'm just wondering what the rest of council thinks of that idea.
Mr. Mayor, that was already dropped in 2020. That's not up for discussion. That was back in the spring.
Because we're voting on the bylaw, right?
Yes, but yeah, you could change it now, but it wasn't part of the discussion.
Yeah, that's why I'm throwing it out there. So I believe Deputy Mayor had her hand up.
Yeah, in regards to the bulk water, I think we're probably knowing that the people outside of town are using it. It's probably in line with everyone else. So it's not like you want to make a big dollar off them. And if we don't keep so that we are equal with others, then they won't be using it and we'll be making nothing. So I don't foresee seeing a raise in it unless others elsewhere are going to be raising theirs as well. We'll just lose the clientele myself.
Yeah, I just felt it would be prudent for our council to have this discussion about it because we're scrutinizing every dollar, right?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, looking more at the garbage and all that type of stuff in our water, perhaps looking at things to be on the utilization of it, the usage. If you're using lots of it, then by all means use it and pay for it. But if you're not, then maybe not using it. So maybe looking at the minimum levels of things so that it balances out more consistently, and that'll encourage people to save on water and save on this if they want to have the savings.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how administration would be able to manage something like that, but that's an interesting thought. Any other council care to give their thoughts and opinions on that matter?
Mr. Mayor, are we bringing the fees and charges for discussion to the council in future meeting?
Yep. I think Councillor Wayne wanted to say something.
No, I was just asking what the cost is versus what we're selling it for. Is it just a cost recovery right now, or we're not?
Mr. Mayor, what are we talking about bulk water? Or are we talking about
Yeah,
resident?
bulk water. Sorry.
Oh, we're way above cost recovery.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. We're above the regional average, actually.
Okay.
That's why we've been bringing it down slowly.
Has it affected our usage from the customers?
Mr. Mayor, yes, it has.
Do we know the dollar value?
Well, Mr. Mayor, as you know, they opened a bulk water station on the highway as well. So that's a direct impact to us as well.
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering if we know what it's dropped over the last, say, year or so.
And then again, the oil and gas industry, there's a lot of external forces on us on bulk water for sure.
Yep. And like I said, I think our council is beholden to scrutinize every dollar. And so that's why I wanted to bring this forward for discussion from council. So if we feel that we're sufficiently discussed it, then we can vote on the motion. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Councillor George has his hand up. You're muted, George.
Before we make changes, maybe we should do some more research into it. And yes, I agree with you, Carl. It is a much needed revenue for our town. That's all I have to say.
Yep. Yeah, no, we're not changing it right now. I just wanted to throw that out there for council's consideration.
But before we make any ups or downs, we should better have some more figures.
Absolutely.
Mr.
agree.
Mayor, if I could just say we're talking about the apartments right now.
Yep, I understand that. Yep. So if
And
there's go ahead.
and even with the apartments, we haven't really decided what rate we want to charge them.
Mr. Mayor, that's in the attachment in the fees and charges.
Do we need to highlight that specifically?
It is highlighted, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just for the benefit of the council.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to reiterate what is stated here is that we're asking for the apartment type complexes, which is 2 town of Bruderheim, to go from a flat rate system to a user actual reading system. So the water sewer will be reflective of the actual use instead of a flat rate charge. And that is because they're not always at full occupancy. So it doesn't matter if there's 0 people or 63. In the past, they were paying the same rate and obviously not using the same amount of water. And the user rates, utility rates, are total cost recovery. So we were actually in a surplus when they're at 0 people, right? This is more, that's why we're talking about changing rates for residential use as well. The actual user system instead of a flat rate system.
Okay, thank you. Councillor George, that sufficiently answered your question?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no more discussion on this motion, is anyone opposed to this motion? Haven't heard none, then the motion is carried. And we're looking for a motion for the third and final reading of this bylaw.
I'll give that motion as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Dan.
I move the town council give third and final reading of bylaw 13-2020, a bylaw to amend the fees and charges bylaw 13-2019.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Okay, thank you to administration for bringing this to us and helping out important business in our community. Is there anyone opposed to this motion? Haven't heard none. Call for vote. The vote says that we're in favor, so the motion is carried. And move on to 9.2, winter maintenance policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administration was asked by council to bring the winter maintenance policy for review. The town council approved the winter maintenance policy, roads, pedestrians, paths, alleys, and parking lots policy service 099 revised 1 map outlining changes to snow clearing priorities in the Brookside Park area. Town council approved the winter maintenance policy service agreement 015 for roads, sidewalks, walking trails, and parking lots in 2014, and then amended the policy in January 2016. In 2017, the town of Bruderheim annexed property that was not included in the winter maintenance policy, service 015 approved by council in 2016. In November 2018, the policy was rewritten to include the annexed properties and to change the policy number to service 099. This policy was revised to reflect urban and rural service area winter maintenance priorities, and on October 23rd, 2019, a revision was made to the snow clearing priority map. Public Works staff are recommending that the winter maintenance policy, roads, pedestrian paths, alleys, and parking lots priorities for snow clearing in Brookside change as follows. 53 Avenue between 45th and 47th to a priority 4, 47th Street between 53rd and 50th, 48th Avenue between 49th Street and 50 as a priority 2, 48th Street between 45th Street and 48th Street priority 2. Strategic areas, a rural and urban servicing strategy, as well as the communities educated on responsibilities and limitation of council. The town of Bruderheim is a community with urban and rural areas which require policies to reflect the service for residents in each of the areas. This policy provides public works staff with guidelines for winter maintenance priorities. Working with the current priorities approved by council during the 2019-2020 winter spring season, public works staff are recommending these changes for efficiency of service and safety of residents. Information will be placed on social media, including in the newsletter, placed on the town of Bruderheim website and communicated to staff. A letter advising the rural service area residents of the policy will be sent out.
Thank you for that. If someone from council be willing to make the motion, we're just reviewing it, or we're going to approve it. So we need a motion to approve the changes. So Councillor Pat, I think, has her hand up.
I
We got you. Oh, you're muted again.
Okay, there we are. Okay,
Yep.
I make the motion that town council approve the winter maintenance policy, roads, pedestrian paths, alleys, and parking lots policy, SER 099-REV1 map outlining changes to snow clearing priorities in Brookside Park.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council? Councillor Wayne. And Councillor Wayne, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm assuming that's 48th Avenue between 45th and 48th Street.
It's 45th
Yes.
Street.
Okay. And when I look at, sorry, I'm just pulling it up, the map that was given, how come there's no priority 3 on here? But on all the other paperwork, there's priority 3s.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, priority 3s are the trails and sidewalks. They happen before the force.
But they're not going to be listed on here at all? No.
They're on a different map. We didn't change any trails. There's actually in brown, you'll see all the trails.
Trails this month. Does that answer your question, Councillor Wayne?
There's
Yeah.
a second map.
Sorry.
There's a second map that has all the trails, but we're not adjusting any of the trails, just the Brookside area.
Okay. That answers that. Is it possible to, on 55th Street, coming into West Woodlands, is it possible to clear up to 51st Avenue, just that little bit, so vehicles can get up that slope going up onto the road, onto 50, sorry, I'm just trying to open it up here. So when you come off 52nd Avenue and come into West Woodlands, can that first 30 feet or whatever be cleared as well as a priority 1, just when they're coming through? Because more often than not, people are stuck there spinning because they can't get enough speed going up. So I thought if it was cleared a bit, maybe that would help a bit.
They always, I know, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, you just have to remember that service levels, if we raise it, then it has to be done. But I do know that Public Works tries really hard to do that. They have recognized that as a trouble spot. We have a number of trouble spots throughout the community. So they do have it flagged, but if council wanted that changed, we could make that change.
I'm just putting it out there because I know I don't drive a lot through the other areas when it's snowing, but I just thought I could throw that out there to see what people thought. But if there's other areas, I don't know.
Thank you for that, Councillor
Thoughts?
Wayne.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Flordo has.
Yeah,
question?
Councillor Judy had her hand up first.
Oh,
and then-
sorry, I didn't know if you saw.
I've had the seniors ask me, Patty, if we could push the snow at 51st Avenue in front of their building back so that they can get out to go to doctor's appointments and stuff. And supposedly we had done it consistently until the last couple of years. So I don't know, and I'm not sure if I want to put it on the priority, but I guess could it be into the second level at least? Somewhere along the line to make sure we clean out in front of their building so they can get in and out.
Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor, yeah, we do have that as a practice. I do know that it got missed the one time, but we do have directives that are based on the policy. So again, when you raise the level of service, it has to be done all the time. We have to be held accountable, right? So if it turned out that the major routes can't be accessed, those have to be done first, right? And it goes on traffic, unfortunately, but council can make a motion to change that to a priority one if council wanted to.
That answer your question sufficiently, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Len?
Well, I was going to speak on the same thing because some seniors approached me about it, and there's various reasons they want that clean. Of course, they're not that great of drivers anymore. Secondly, they do walk that street, and it is close to the town office, and the citizens use that street for parking. And for safety reason, just for an ambulance or something for the seniors, that's what some of their concerns. So I think it should be cleaned on a regular basis first.
Thank you for that, Councillor Len. So if we want to, I'm just looking for process, CAO Pat. If we pass the motion as it stands and then someone wants to make a motion to include some revisions, is that the way to do that? Or how would you like to see us doing any changes to this today?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see a motion to add that as a priority one, and then we would bring this back to council at the next council meeting and we'd redo the map and the resolution.
So then we would just repeat this motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and so then we'd need a second motion afterwards to bring it back.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. With the changes, if you could make a motion that you would like that street.
Yep, so we'll see how the vote goes on this motion then, right?
I'd like to make a motion that we put in front of the seniors a priority one.
Yeah, so hold on with that motion. We're gonna vote on this one and then we'll have another motion, right? That's,
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
yep.
So Patty, you said you had policies in place. Would it be prudent if we could review the policies as to how you've got them worded so we know that if we don't change it, they will still be looked after right after the main level of roads being pulled? Or
Mr. Mayor,
being
I would be more comfortable with council changing it to a priority one. If that's the council direction.
Okay, so then it's clear, right? So we'll just hang on to Len's motion and we'll vote on this one first and then we'll deal with Len's motion after. Is that the right process?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Councillor Dan.
I just a quick, basically on this motion. Is it going to be an overall increase, decrease, just kind of a stabilization, just a little bit of a cleanup as far as this goes?
Looks to me like in the informal ones that the bit by West Woodlands and by the seniors would be like Len's motion was specifically targeting the seniors, but if we wanted to make it official for those areas that are unofficial right now, then it would be an increase in service. Is that right, CEO Pat?
Right. I'm sorry. I'm talking specifically about the motion that we're talking about right now, not the one to
Yeah.
come.
Oh, okay. I'll let Pat answer that question.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, multitasking. What was the question?
Basically, in your opinion, is this looking like an increase in service, decrease, just cleaning up some priorities, I guess?
Mr. Mayor, this would be an increase in service levels at an added cost.
Right, and not the future motion, but the current motion on the table, right?
Oh, the current motion would be just changing, yeah, there would be no added cost to the current motion.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We're just going on traffic flows in Brookside, and the ring road sees higher traffic volume than the inner. And also it gets all the drifting from that open field. So we're often in there. So that was the suggestion for the change.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for that background and good question, Councillor Dan. Any further comments, questions, or concerns with this motion? Okay, looking to find out who is against this motion. I can't hear anything.
I
Okay, we have one again.
I want to
Yep.
defeat it. That's what we want to do.
Yep. Is there anyone else that's opposed to this motion?
I don't think we under.
And going
Mis-
once
Mis-
and going twice.
I
Any?
think
Mr.
you should,
Mayor,
yeah,
Mr. Mayor, maybe you should just say the motion again.
and ask to arm raise this time.
Who made the motion for this to approve?
Made the motion?
Yeah. So do you want to just reread the motion that you made, Councillor Pat?
I move that town council approve the winter maintenance policy roads, pedestrian pass alleys and park lots policy SER 099 REV1 map outlining changes to snow clearing priorities in Brookside Park.
Thank you for that. So that's what the motion reads like. And again, I'm going to call for those. I'm sorry. I'm calling for those opposed to the motion. And I believe it was Councillor Len so far. That's correct. Councillor Len, you're opposed?
I think they're confused a little bit, Carl. If we want to add on the seniors, we have to defeat this motion. I think it's, can we not make that motion, just she did, with a revision to that motion, adding on that one portion, and it would be all over with, we wouldn't have to deal with it again.
Looking to CAO Pat for process.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I lost connectivity. So
Yeah, no worries.
if council wants to add the seniors, could you please defeat the original motion from Councillor Lee? And then we make a new motion for 51st Avenue between 48th Street to 49 to be added to the winter maintenance policy as a priority one.
Okay, so again, I'm going to call for the third time those opposed to this original motion. And I believe the Councillor Len is opposed. And Councillor Dan, are you opposed? Can't hear you, Councillor Dan.
Sorry, excuse me. I'm super confused because I thought everybody was kind of going for this. They wanted the priority one for the seniors. Am I mistaken?
It's all about cost, right? If we're trying to
like,
cut things and cut budget, right, it's all about cost.
It looks like not everybody is
Gotcha.
in favor of
Okay.
killing off this motion. So again, call for the fourth time. Is there anyone else opposed, or is only Councillor Len opposed to this motion right now? Okay, then the motion is carried. And that makes the second motion that Len wanted to make redundant, but we can go through the motions with that if we prefer. What would council like to do? And maybe CAO Pat can give us a process on that.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Falardo would have to make a notice of motion to change the winter maintenance policy.
Okay, so you want to make that notice of motion, Councillor Len?
Yes, I'd like to make the notice of motion that we change the policy to include the road in front of the seniors.
Okay, thank you for that. And I believe that we're clear out now of the winter maintenance policy. So the next is the Bruderheim Community Investment Policy allocations. We're going to vote on them one at a time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this is to provide council with recommendations from administration on the allocation of the Q1, Q2, Q3 community investment funding. The town council approved the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding with application by the Expressions Dance Studio in the amount of $1,000 for the purchase of a computer and Zoom software for Zoom dance lessons when students cannot access studio due to illness. The town council approved the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding request application by the Bruderheim Ag Society in the amount of $1,000 for the purchase of a laptop computer and technology for webinars, meeting, training, and offering events, classes to Bruderheim and surrounding communities. The town council approved the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding request application by the Bruderheim Seniors Club in the amount of $1,000 for the purchase of address signing, emergency lighting, and floor mats for safety upgrades within the Bruderheim Senior Center. Council approved the Bruderheim Community Investment Program on April 19, 2017 to assist local community groups with their programming and or to hold events and programs for the residents of Bruderheim. At the August 19, 2020 meeting of Town Council, Council approved a resolution to allow Bruderheim Community Investment Program funds to be utilized for expenses as a result of COVID and the impact in our nonprofit organizations. Strategic plan areas to enhance existing programs and develop new programs for citizens of all ages and toddlers to seniors. Other impacts, Bruderheim Community Investment Policy, FIN 070. This policy provides an opportunity for us to support community initiatives or events that will benefit the town of Bruderheim and its residents and align with our strategic goals. The applicants will come to council for their check presentation.
Thank you for that. So we're looking for a motion for the first one, the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding application by the Expressions Dance Studio.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor George.
I make a motion to provide council with recommendations for administration to allow application of the Q1, Q2, Q3 community investment funding.
Yeah, George, we have to do each one individually. So the Bruderheim Expressions Dance Studio would be the first one. Do you see that information there?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do it over. That town council approves the Bruderheim, pardon? The town council approves the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding request application by Expressions Dance Studio in the amount of $1,000 for the purchase of a computer and Zoom software for Zoom dance lessons when students cannot access the studio due to illness.
That motion, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Councillor Pat? Just have to unmute yourself, Councillor Pat.
I have concerns in the fact that the Expressions Dance Studio is a business as opposed to your Ag Society, your seniors, your Lions, any of the others. So I'm feeling that this will open up the doors for town businesses to apply. I mean, many of them are deserving, also dealing with issues in terms of their businesses. So I don't think that this even qualifies as a to apply in terms of its nonprofit and charitable organizations, not businesses, that this fund was set up for, as far as I know.
So the question to CAO Patty is this application applicable for this grant?
So, Mr. Mayor, as you know, administration reviews all applications, and it's our belief that the not a lot going in our community this winter, and it's a very small amount to provide some recreation opportunities to our younger citizens, comparable to what we've spent on the arena to open it up for young citizens. We thought this was a small request. That's why we put it forward.
Okay, so it is technically a business then.
Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Okay, Councillor Wayne.
Did we not do some support for the Aikido group when they were in town?
Mr. Mayor, through Council Lecco, absolutely we did.
Yeah, and that was almost that was a business as well, right? He's still offering a service, and we sponsored or we supported them, right? And I think it's a difference. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, 100% sure if it was a business or a nonprofit, actually. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a not-for-profit.
Um,
Councillor Pat.
I thought there was some, I thought there was some history there with Councillor Ross in terms of nonprofit and the rest of it. I'm not 100% sure with the Aikido Club. So I may be wrong, but it seemed more as a community nonprofit. That's just what my understanding was of it. I could be wrong. However, I don't know that it ran but business as such.
Deputy Mayor.
As opposed to this Expressions Dance Studio, we did give them a grant for other stuff. And they, although they may be a business, they're run as a nonprofit. And what I mean by that is they don't charge out for their studio and all that kind of stuff. All they charge is for their teachers. So they're not making any money. All they're doing is keeping the kids busy. And so that's why I think this is a good example in this time and time. If they can keep them busy and doing things and look after the COVID things that they've had come upon them, I think it's not a bad thing.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. Is any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? Councillor Pat, you're muted.
I do know businesses in town that could utilize this amount of money. It's not a large amount. However, it's a slippery slope, and I do know of at least one business in town that was over and above in doing stuff for residents when stuff started. And so does say it's not fair. I just don't think that it's right. It doesn't look right to me.
Okay, thank you for that perspective. Okay. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from our council on that? I do believe that the Aikido Club, the club gave a stipend to the instructor, but it was nowhere near what he was worth. And it's interesting to hear that the dance club doesn't make money off of this, that they're just paying for what the instructor costs are. So there's a difference there, I think, to a certain degree. So call the question now. Anyone opposed to this motion, please acknowledge now.
I'm opposed.
Okay,
I'm opposed.
Thank you, Councillor Pat. Anyone else opposed to this motion?
I have to agree with Pat.
Okay, and so we have 2 opposed. Is that it? That's opposed? Okay, then the motion carries. Thank you. Good discussion. Number 2, would someone be willing to make the motion on the Ag Society request?
I can, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
The Town Council approved the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding request application by the Bruderheim Agricultural Society in the amount of $1,000 for the purchase of a technology of webinars, meetings, training, and offering event classes to Bruderheim and surrounding communities.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion from our council? Hearing none, it's always encouraging to hear folks adapting to changes in our community and bringing this motion forward will help to be able to bring training and meetings when we can't really do that right now with the COVID. So I'm glad to see this motion come forward. If there's anyone opposed, please indicate now. And the motion's carried. So now we're looking for a motion for the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding application by the Bruderheim Seniors Citizens Club. Does someone make that motion? Councillor Wayne?
The town council approved the Bruderheim Community Investment Funding request application by the Bruderheim Senior Citizens Club in the amount of $1,000 for the purchase of address signage, emergency lighting, and floor mats for safety upgrades within the Bruderheim Senior Center.
Thank you. Anyone have any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? I think that's another one that would be welcome in our community. So anyone opposed to this motion? Okay, hearing none, the motion is carried and we can move on to 9.4, credit card policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administration would like to revise the corporate credit card policy FIN 069 to allow the Chief Administrative Officer access to a Town of Bruderheim corporate credit card. The Town Council approved the corporate credit card policy FIN 069 as amended October 7, 2020. Town Council approved the corporate credit policy on June 17, 2015, which clarified responsibilities and set out guidelines for using the credit card, stated process for reconciliation of credit card statements, as well as statements referencing audit, security, or credit cards and using credit cards. Council requested that Patty Petterman, Chief Administrative Officer, receipt of a Town of Bruderheim credit card for her use when purchasing items for the Town of Bruderheim. This policy required an amendment to include a definition and guidelines for a contractor to allow the Chief Administrative Officer access to the Town of Bruderheim credit card. The Town of Bruderheim contracts the Chief Administrative Officer through an agreement with Strathcona County, which previously excluded her from having access to a corporate credit card for the Town of Bruderheim. The amended policy does not restrict the term contractor, as there may in the future be other contracted services such as Economic Development Officer may also consider corporate credit card for the Town of Bruderheim business-related expenses. Strategic plan priority areas. The community is educated on responsibilities and limitations of council administration. The Chief Administrative Officer will be able to use the town credit Town of Bruderheim needs upon approval of the credit card policy FIN 069 as amended October 7, 2020. Communication plan, the amended corporate credit card policy FIN 069 will be shared with all staff.
Thank you for that. Someone from council be willing to make this motion. Councillor Pat, you just muted there. You got it.
Okay, I move the town council approve the corporate credit card policy FIN 069 as amended October 7, 2020.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from Councillor Wayne?
How many credit cards are we looking at getting? Or who's going to be having them? What?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, town staff already have credit cards. So your directors all have credit cards. And I believe Kathleen has one. Yes, she does. Kathleen has one and your directors. And council asked that I get a credit card. So this amendment is just to allow a contract employee to have a credit card.
Okay.
So that would make 3, 4, 5, all in 5 total.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? Just a comment. I'm pleased to see this policy come forward from administration. Thank you for that. I think it's important for transparency that the CAO at times has to purchase a number of things, sometimes a lot of things when events are happening for our town. And now that she doesn't have to use her credit card, I think that's a good thing and for transparency for the town. So thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? Okay, and now we'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? Okay, haven't heard none, then the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Move on to 9.5, Northern Lights Library System 2021 budget. Always a popular
Thank
word.
you, Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This reports to provide council with an opportunity to provide guidance on the levy passed on to municipalities. The town and council approved the presented Northern Lights Library System Board 2021 budget at 0% levy increase. At each organizational meeting of council, a member of council is assigned to attend the Northern Lights Library System meetings and represent our community. At the meeting held on October 2020, the members of the Northern Lights Library System Board approved the 2021 budget. The budget includes a 0% levy increase to municipalities and/or their library boards. Levies were based on the 2018 population as per the Alberta government website. The total levy for 2021 equals $7,295.85 from the town of Bruderheim, population 1395, that's interesting, times 523 per capita. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to look into that population because that's not the Alberta population. Within this levy is library book allotment fund. $1,199.25 is allocated to the Metro Kelowna Library. Strategic plan areas, a committee that is educated on the responsibilities and limitation of council administration. Summary, the total levy for 2021 equals $7,295.85 from the town of Bruderheim, population 1395 times $5.23 per capita. Within this levy is the library book allotment funds, of which $2,999.25 is allocated to the Metro Kelowna Library. The library levy will be included in the 2021 budget that is shared with residents.
Thank you. I always thought it was 1397, but I know it was just shy of 1400. So that'd be interesting to hear what you say. Anyone be willing to make that motion from council?
I can make that motion,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wayne was getting revved up for it there. Sorry.
Okay.
That's
no
okay.
problem.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Oh, okay. The town council accept the Northern Lights Library System 2021 budget of 0% levy increase.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? Councillor Dan.
Just in reference to the numbers you guys were talking about, is that going to make any differences to what we're now voting on, or should be okay?
Mr. Mayor, if I see any errors, I'll bring it back to council, but they need this document to get their budget passed. So
Gotcha. Thank you.
I know that the government doesn't recognize our census, and it's interesting when our census numbers get used versus when the federal census numbers get used. So I'm just going to get some clarity on that.
Okay, because I thought at the last census they recognized our census. That'd be interesting. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? It's good to see that the Northern Lights was acknowledging the difficult times right now. So thanks for that. Anyone opposed to this motion? And the motion's carried. So we can move on to 9.6. That would be the Fortis Alberta franchise fees. I imagine there's a preamble.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was muted. Administration received a letter from Fortis asking about the franchise fees. As part of our electrical distribution franchise agreement with Fortis Alberta, we have the annual ability to either increase, decrease, or keep the franchise fee the same with written. Alberta sent an email indicating they require a decision before November 1st, 2020. We recommend that Town Council approve a 0% franchise fee with Fortis Alberta, or that Town Council approve a determined franchise fee with Fortis Alberta. In 2013, Council passed bylaws 27/2013 electrical distribution franchise agreement with Fortis Alberta. Council determined they would not charge franchise fee at that time. Franchise were reviewed again in 2019, and a Town Council voted to not participate in Fortis Alberta franchise fees. Fortis Alberta notified the town as either to increase or keep the Fortis Alberta franchise fee the same with written notice. All proposed rate changes that are attached or estimated and have not been approved by the Alberta Utilities Commission. The distribution tariff revenues shown are estimates only and are subject to change depending on several factors, including but not limited to fluctuations in the number of customer sites within the municipality and/or electrical usage increase or decreasing, and changes to the transmission or distribution rates, which could be impacted by current economic conditions. If you wish to defer adjusting our franchise fees until 2021, Here are the key dates to consider. Adjustments can only be done once per calendar year. All advertisements are required to be placed in the local newspaper with the widest circulation within our municipality for 2 consecutive weeks prior to these dates. February 15, 2021 for an April 1st, 21 implementation. May 15, 2021 for July 1st implementation. August 15, 2021 for an October 1st, 2021 implementation. November 15, 2021 for a January 1st, 2022 implementation. There is a requirement for the town of Bruderheim to advertise the council-approved franchise fee in the local newspaper for 2 weeks and to notify Fortis Alberta and the Alberta Utilities Commission of council decisions should they decide to charge a franchise fee. This allows residents the opportunity to voice concerns or support the franchise fee. The maximum amount can be charged in franchise fee is 20%. Information will be in the newsletter. Enclosure with a 2% franchise fee charge, 4% franchise fee charge, 5% franchise fee charge, and also the Fortis Alberta Service Area Municipal Franchise Fees, July 2020. And Mr. Mayor, just additionally, I reached out to our customer service rep and I asked per household range that would be. Currently we're at 0. So if we went to 2%, that would be $1.38 per month per household based on an average consumption of 640 kilowatts. 4%, $2.78 per household per month, and 5% would be $3.45 per month per household.
Thank you for that information. Bo, I've always been curious, Pat, what if we didn't vote on it? What would Fortis do with it?
Mr. Mayor would stay at 0 or wherever we're at, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, that's just to me, it's funny. You got to vote on it, but if we didn't vote on it, nothing would change. So looking for a motion from council to approve a 0% franchise fee with Fortis Alberta. Someone willing to make that motion? Councillor Wayne?
Make a motion that town council approve a 0% franchise fee with Fortis Alberta.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that motion? Councillor Dan?
This is actually something that I've been kind of dwelling on, thinking about. One of our largest concerns in our town is our taxes. I understand that other communities are doing franchise fees, and it's a way of the town garnering those same funds, that same money, but spread out over a chunk of time rather than asking people for large sums of money at once. I think that's what the biggest concern is with taxes. So I would love to know, because we have this entire month to actually make a decision before November 1st, what residents actually think about franchise fees versus taxes. If we started charging, say, 5%, how much would that actually drop our taxes that people could say, hey, wow, Bruderheim dropped their taxes. Yes, we're still making that up another way, and they know about it, but they're not footing the bill all at once. It's a cup of coffee. Sorry, 2 cups of coffee. Wait, $10? $3.45 is a cup of coffee a month. I mean, if the perception is our taxes are too high, is this more palatable? Is this an option that we can pursue? I would love to know people's input on this. Is there a way that we can? I don't want to delay it because I don't want to delay all of our decisions, but at the same time, is there a way to, for next meeting, get some input and say, hey, this is maybe a direction we want to take?
So you're looking for a buzz survey.
I mean, I would love to go on Facebook, you know, hey, Facebook, hey, we're Facebook Live right now. Hit me up in the comments below and let me know what you think of these ideas.
Well, we get quite people watching this, so maybe we'll get some good feedback from them. That'd be great.
Yep. Subscribe. I'm here every 2 weeks. Hit the like button for notifications.
Thank you for that, Councillor Dan. Councillor Len has his hand up.
I don't care how you do it. You're still doing taxes to the people. This is just a hidden factor. Most of them probably wouldn't even see it, but it's still there. And you know for a fact, if we put a franchise fee out there, we're not going to reduce the taxes to meet that franchise fees. Let's give it a reality. We're in tough shape. We need all the money we can within the community. So I don't believe we would cut taxes to get the franchise fee. I think it's a good time. We have an opportunity think about it over the winter and see what the year brings to us and what the gas rates and then the power rates are. And this way we can look at it again in the new year.
Thank you for that feedback, Councillor Lynn. Anyone else like to provide some comments, questions, or concerns? Councillor Pat?
Mute. Okay. First off, I think I want to thank administration for coming up and showing us that with the 2%, how much we would be revenue would be coming in and at what cost every month. So, 2%, 4%. I'm saying, with 2%, I could live with that. I could live with that. To be able to bring in that amount of revenue for our town. That's my thought on it. I was surprised when I saw the 2. I thought, oh, she must have meant 20%, but no, it's 2%, and it's like to me that's doable.
Thank you for that feedback, Councillor Pat. Deputy Mayor Judy.
And I'm thinking of our budget and, how we're going to cut things and everything else with this COVID and changing some things and trying not to increase the taxes. I'm thinking this is a good opportunity. I too like the 2%. I know I know different ones are against it because it's another tax. I don't see anyone not coming into town because of it. I don't see the benefit of bringing businesses in because we don't have it. That hasn't happened over the last 2 years. So it's not a huge amount, but it hits at a monthly basis as opposed to, down the line. So I'm in favor for the 2%.
Thank you for that feedback. Councillor Wayne. Councillor Wayne, you're muted.
No, I'm good.
Okay. I just wanted to provide some feedback and a question to administration. So we're looking at the average cost for like a resident, but if there's a business that's burning a lot of power or gas, it's a much larger number. And that's something to take into consideration, that we might be hurting a business that's already struggling. And the other thing that I wanted to know is, we worked on the other franchise fee the last council meeting, and nothing has changed on where that money is being directed to. It's going to a reserve. Where would this money be allocated to? Has been driven into that idea? Because we do have the shortfall in the recreation funding, that the money that we're not getting from Lamont County because they're not giving us the recreation funding that they have in the past. So my question is to administration, where would these funds be directed to?
So, Mr. Mayor, with our current financial policies, they would go into utilities, infrastructure upgrades. We don't define which franchise fees. We just say franchise fees are directed to that reserve account, which is a very important account that we draw from for upgrading utilities, for unscheduled, for instance, a water break or a sewer break, CC breaks. So all of that is funded through that reserve. So it's a very important reserve for our community.
Yep. And my other thought, thank you for that, is like it was noted by Councillor Dan, we do have a little bit of time. So if perchance it gets voted down at this meeting and then we go in through the budget and we find we have maybe different thoughts about this franchise fee, it could come back. Is that correct? To council to consider again?
Mr. Mayor, I think I read out during the report that there's certain deadlines, and if we don't approve this tonight, we definitely wouldn't make the November 1st deadline, but we could revisit it in February because we'd have to advertise for 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to throw that out there. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Councillor Wayne?
I don't know if I'd be in favor right now. Something to be looked at again in, I guess, February. Again, coming at us with we need a decision tonight. It's something to think about it through the budget process. So I would be willing to look at it again in February.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Yeah, timing is important. So maybe for the franchise fees questions for next year, maybe we can get them a little sooner to give us a little bit more time to consider them. Anyone else? Councillor Dan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, it is short notice. I understand that it's a little bit tricky, but if it's a discussion that council can have throughout the next year, I know we're going into, but for next year's budget and stuff, I think that would be beneficial again to have the input from the residents, because I don't know a lot of people that go into a dealership and buy a car without financing. They just don't have that money up front. And right now, again, back to my comments about our taxes being top heavy, that's what they are. And a lot of communities, they're going towards these franchise fees. And if you look through the information that we got on these, some of them are pretty heavy. Some of those communities are sitting at 20%, where I understand we're asking at, 5% or whatever we're asking for. It's not a ton. And I mean, again, I find our town is very fiscally responsible. So if we were to implement this and we were looking to have a surplus, I doubt our taxes would be jumping up. We'd be going, oh, look, we get to stay at status quo where everybody else gets to raise their taxes. So that's kind of where I stand right now. I would love to make the decision earlier, but if we can do it in a year, I think it would be beneficial as well.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. And Councillor George has his hand up. Councillor George, you're muted. Thank you,
Just
Councillor.
a question, as things increase and we think about franchise, do we keep raising franchise to make up that deficit? That's something to think about, if that's the way you're going.
Thank you for that feedback, Councillor George. And Councillor Wayne.
Is this a way? Is this a way that we can receive funds to play policing bill? Would this be an opportunity for that?
Mr. Mayor, Council can make a motion to direct the funds wherever they would like.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there as another option for consideration if that's the will, but I would like to hold off and have some more discussion.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. So I'll call the question then, if there's no more thoughts and concerns. Those opposed to the motion to approve a 0% franchise fee?
Me,
Have Deputy Mayor and Councillor Dan and Councillor Pat. So there's 3 opposed and 4 in favor. So the approve of 0% franchise fee is passed. Okay, so we move on to 9.7 property tax penalty waiver request.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to discuss the request from a property owner of tax roll number 30190 to have the October 1st, 2020 and January 1st, 2021 tax penalties waived due to financial hardship. The Town Council approved the waiving of the tax penalty for roll number 30190 for the October 1st, 2020 and January 1st, 2020 penalty dates only if they enter into a payment contract to bring their current taxes up to date, enter into the TIP program for the 2021 tax. Town Council approved the property tax penalty waiver policy on June 3rd, 2020. This policy was required to allow administration to enter negotiations with property owners that are affected by the hardships of the pandemic. This policy allows Council to consider requests for property tax penalty waivers which demonstrate matters which Council seems acceptable. Strategic plan areas, ensuring that our property owners remain viable and is a direction that the Alberta government conveyed in the spring of 2020. Working with the community during a pandemic to try and prevent loss of property due to financial hardship caused by the pandemic. Other impacts, policy FIN 100, Legislative and Legal, Municipal Government Act, RSA 200 M26. Working with our residents to keep their tax and utility accounts current ensures that we minimize the financial impact to the rest of the community by not trying to sell with us with the accounts receivables. The communication plan, the approved property tax penalty waiver will be shared with the recipient.
Okay, thank you for that. Looking for a motion from Council for this tax penalty waiver. Councillor Pat. Sorry, Pat, you're muted.
Okay. I move that Town Council approve the waiving of tax penalty for roll number 30190 for the October 1, 2020 and January 1, 2021 penalty dates only if they enter into a payment contract to bring their current unpaid taxes up to date and enter into the TIP program for their 2021 taxes.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Everyone's good. So if there's none opposed, is there anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Move on to 10.1 council committee reports. Looking for a motion to receive the council committee reports as information. Has everyone seen the council committee reports? That somebody will be willing to make that motion?
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
That council receive the council committee reports as information.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Hearing none. Anyone opposed to that motion? Oh, you have a question, Councillor Pat?
It's not a question, just that that the Alberta Urban Municipality Associations are posting all the education sessions and the resolutions and that on the AUME website, and it was a really good conference, and it'd be advantageous, I believe, for our councillors to get in there and see what was done.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder, Mr. Pat. Very good. If there's none opposed to this motion, then the motion is carried. Okay, and we need a motion for the mayor report to receive as information. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I can make that motion. I move that council receive the mayor report as information.
Thank you for that. I just have to add a little bit of information. I attended the information session with the province finance minister on Monday evening in the Fort, and also made an important official phone call from our community to our nearest Lamont County councillor, Neil Whitus, in regards to the recreation funding that was removed from Lamont County. We had a lengthy discussion, and he agreed to talk to his administration and Reeve about how it was communicated to our community. And the next day he did call me back, and there was in his mind an error on the part of their administration on how that was communicated to our town. So that was good to hear. He had no comment on how the contract was breached. And so those two things I didn't have on the mayor report. They were fairly new. I phoned Neil on Sunday. So if there's none opposed to the mayor report, then the motion is passed. Thank you. And a CAO report, would someone be willing to make the CAO report motion to receive as information? Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move that we accept the CAO report as information.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns, council, with the CAO report? Has everyone had a chance to read the CAO report? Okay, Deputy Mayor has their hand up.
I have a question for CAO. I see you're going out for tender for our lift station. Are we having some new issues there, or just because of age and all that kind of stuff? I'm not going out to tender, just getting some cost factors, sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor, as you know, there's a number of infrastructure grants coming out or being proposed to come out at the federal and provincial level. So we're trying to get some shovel-ready projects ready with quotes.
Okay, good, thank you.
That's great. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with the CAO report? Just a question, Pat, on the design phase of the new reservoir. Is there a time frame on that at all, or have you heard anything?
So, Mr. Mayor, we are hoping to have that report ready by the year end. So I think they were talking fourth quarter, so sometime in November.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments from CAO report, is anyone opposed to that motion? Haven't heard none. The motion is carried. Number 11, correspondence and information items. I have a couple of things to bring forward. We received a letter to the town from Dennis Mushmeyer, chairman of the Bruderheim Water Co-op Limited. The Bruderheim Water Co-op is recognizing the significant assistance received from the town of Bruderheim Council and administration staff over the last number of months in dealing with the replacement of our main water metering station. To recognize the town's efforts, they are holding a grand opening event at the site on October 14th. I believe all of our council should have received an invite to that event. And they'll ask for-
Mr. Mayor, if I could interrupt, only
Yeah.
the mayor did because of COVID. They're
Oh,
restricting
okay.
the amount. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, didn't say specifically who, so that's why I wanted to bring it forward. Okay, thank you. I also wanted to bring forward that the water supply agreement and capital cost allocation issue that the John S. Patuque Water Commission and the Northeast Water Commission are going through. There's a number of letters going back and forth between the two organizations. When we get to a point where some resolution has been brought forward, I can share that information. And also wanted to let you know that I had well-supplied briefing notes on key messages when I spoke to Neil Whitus from our administration. Thank you very much, CAO Pat. And so that's all I had for correspondence. Did anybody else have any correspondence that they wanted to bring forward at this time? No? Okay, then I'll be looking for the WC motion that we usually get, or WO motion that we usually get.
A motion to go home or go to the couch. End of the meeting.
Anyone opposed to that motion? And the motion's carried. Once again, thanks to administration and council for a great meeting. Thank you.